Well, hey, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast. Coming to me from right here in our quaint little studio with my absolutely broken voice and all. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's a thin crew today. It's just me and Jonathan Voico.
I'm here.
Jonathan's here, but most importantly, not Jonathan, not me, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show part of your day, and here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about some predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. So if you have a live comment or question you'd like to ask, go ahead and use our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And as long as we consider it appropriate to read on the show, we'll address it on the show. All right, guys. With that said, let's get into some stuff here, shall we? I want to start off with just a couple little tidbits.
All right.
A couple tidbits here, actually, that I want to talk about. We're not going to make these main topics, but a couple of interesting things. I don't know if you saw this, Jonathan. Jason Reitman is doing a Saturday Night Live movie. It was good. Like every once in a while, a movie will fly under the radar for us.
Yeah.
This movie's coming out in October, I think. It's July, August, September. It's like 3 months away. This one is completely flown under my radar.
So this is the OG 75 cast. This is how it got its start. It's kind of like a biopic on that, right?
Well, yeah. So it's actually pretty interesting. Kind of reminds me a little bit of that one Steve Jobs movie where it was going to be called SNL 1975.
Okay.
It's now just called Saturday Night. And it's about the 90 minutes leading up to the broadcast of the very first episode of Saturday Night Live.
All right. Yeah. So I know what you mean. Like that was the release of, was it the iPhone or what was, no. It was segments of every time Apple had a huge, like,
yeah, the moments leading up to the announcements of that.
Yeah.
So apparently Jason Reitman, of course, son of the iconic Ivan Reitman, who passed away, sadly, not too long ago. But apparently this is and it's not a documentary. This is a narrative story about the 90 minutes leading up to the very first broadcast of Saturday Night Live. And it's coming out on October 11th, which I believe is the actual date that the first Saturday Night Live was broadcast on.
Nice.
So this totally flew under my radar, but I'm pretty stoked about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing this.
Oddly enough, Dan Aykroyd is playing himself.
No, but actually, you know who is playing Dan Aykroyd?
I'd love to know the cast. Yeah.
Who was it? It was... Where did it go? I was reading who's playing Aykroyd, and now I can't find it, but I remember going, oh, he's playing Aykroyd. Now I can't find it. I'm seeing a bunch of the other list, but I can't see who's playing Aykroyd. Anyway, that said, then there's this other thing.
All right.
This little I remember I heard about this a little while ago, but it's totally forgot about it. A little Joseph Gordon-Levitt with Himesh Patel, who was in... what was it called? The Yesterday. The movie about what happens if the Beatles suddenly never existed.
And he wrote all the music.
Yeah, he pretends like he wrote all the Beatles music. Well, they've got a new movie coming out called Greedy People.
Okay.
And by the way, Lily James reunites with Himesh Patel in this movie because she was in Yesterday as well. They play a couple of cops who one of them accidentally kills a lady. And then finds out that lady, when they're feeling horrible about it, they find out that lady has like millions of dollars in drug money in her house. And then hilarity ensues. Tim Blake Nelson, the leader in the upcoming Captain America movies in it. I watched the trailer, came out today. You guys can check it out online. It actually looks pretty darn good.
Kind of has a little bit of a Very Bad Things vibe. Remember that movie?
Yes. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt comes across. You know what's funny? We haven't seen Joseph Gordon-Levitt in a while.
Yeah, but yeah,
all of a sudden he's popping up in Beverly Hills Cop.
Axel Foley.
Which he was actually quite good in. And this looks like a totally different character for him than we've ever seen him play. So
anytime I can get some JGL on screen, I'm in for it.
It's good. But yeah, this looks pretty fun. So I'm down for this. And then finally, this little thing came out this morning. That upcoming Star Wars series, Skeleton Crew, being helmed by John Watts, who directed Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Spider-Man No Way Home. He's directing this. The first couple of images came out for it. And everybody's saying this series, People Magazine said this series is Star Wars meets Amblin.
Okay.
And I'm all for that.
Well, they already got the bikes.
Yeah, they got the bikes.
You just need ET on there.
There's a couple of more images here that they shared.
Yeah.
Which a little, maybe a little nephew of Max Rebo.
Yeah.
The speeder bikes. I mean, this really does feel like the Goonies, doesn't it?
Well, and look at the lighting. That definitely has a
Amblin Entertainment kind of feel to it, right?
yeah.
So they also gave us a release date for it. The release date's going to be December 3rd. So it's still like August, September, October, November. It's still like 4.5, 5 months away.
It's going to have hurdles on viewership though because of Acolyte and whatever. But
it's going to have major hurdles of viewership, and like because not only just because of that, but because it's still a Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
There are no recognizable characters in this, which, a lot of us Star Wars fan thinks is a good thing, that they're actually expanding the universe. So we don't have to have familiar faces all the time. But from a drawing an initial audience thing, it's going to be a hurdle. So the hope for them is probably going to be that it's excellent. And with John Watt directing it, why shouldn't we expect it's going to be excellent? But their hope is that it's going to be excellent. And then that week after week, just like what happened with WandaVision, they're going to hope that week after week, word of mouth will spread that it's really good. Hopefully a few steps up from the Acolyte.
Yeah, I hope it leans towards Andor.
I mean, it's going to be very different than Andor.
No,
right?
for sure, a different vibe. I just mean in terms of the writing, in terms of the show running. That's.
But again, with John Watt attached to it, I have no reason but to feel optimistic about it. And Jude Law.
Yeah.
And this looks adorable. Let me bring this one picture up again. I particularly love this one. Well, this one just screams Goonies to me. I love it.
It looks like it brings adventure and fantasy to this again, which is what I'm looking forward to in it.
And adventure. Yep. Like a real sense of adventure. Yep. I hope they're able to do that with this as well. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to our main stuff here, shall we? And let's start off with this. Now, obviously, Deadpool and Wolverine, huge story out there right now. Probably the most anticipated movie of the year, for a lot of people at least, at any rate. Had a mind-boggling, record-smashing opening weekend of $211 million. $211 million, or $211 is the opening of my movie. $211 million, which set, by over $80 million, set the all-time record for the biggest opening for an R-rated film in history, and became the 6th biggest opening in Hollywood history for any movie of any genre, which is insane that it did this. And it's an R-rated film. Well, it just passed another major milestone, as yesterday Deadline reported that in just 5 days, Deadpool and Wolverine blew past the $500 million mark. In just 5 days. I was kind of stunned the other day because I've said this on the show, but Ann and I, our record for the movie that we saw most times in theaters together is the first Thor.
Which is surprising, but yeah.
I really love that film. There was something so special about it. The Kenneth Branagh directed one. I loved it. Anyway, we saw it 8 times in theaters. 8 times in theaters.
Wow.
So Ann and I, are now committed to making this one the one we see most. We're committed to seeing this one 9 times.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we've got 3 down.
You got 3, yeah.
We've got tickets for tomorrow night. Okay. So we're going to go see it again tomorrow after we see Trap. We're going to see Trap at an earlier screening. Then we're going to go see Deadpool and Wolverine later on. But yesterday, Ann and I were like, hey, we got some time. Maybe we should run over to the theater and see Deadpool and Wolverine again. Because it's Tuesday night. Surely we're not going to have a hard time finding tickets. Yeah, screw that. We got on the AMC app. We looked at the IMAX screen, booked. We looked at the Prime screen, booked. There were a couple of the regular screens that had some seats. Yeah. But we're like,
if you're going to do it.
If I'm going to see it in one of the regular theaters, I want to get my absolute favorite seat in those regular theaters, and those were all booked up already. So, I mean, think about this. In 5 days, this movie has made, 20% more than, it's made 1.2 Black Adams.
Yes.
In 5 days.
Yeah.
It has made more than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania did in its entire theatrical run in 5 days. And I am now just wondering if anybody out there still believes that Deadpool and Wolverine will not join the $1 billion club.
I don't see how. I mean, the math just doesn't math. to not get you there. I mean, a 5-day is like when they do those holiday 5-day opening weekends.
Yes.
You know, you could.
Yes.
It's on par with that. It's actually worse because most people would have gone out that Wednesday as opposed to a Monday. So that's crazy.
It's still like there's a lot of ideas and theories and opinions in the movie world that I'll agree with or disagree with, but when I disagree with, I go, yeah, I could see why you think that sort of thing. I've honestly never, because you've been with me, I have never understood how anybody ever thought Deadpool and Wolverine wasn't going to get $1 billion. I just, because the other two made around an average of 750 million each, one a little bit more, one a little bit less, but the average of about 750 million. And with it now being in the MCU, the return of Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds being a bigger star than he had ever been before, the audience desperately hungry for a really good comic book movie again.
This would have had to suck. Basically, it would have had to be canned by audience open weekend. Like, do not see this. The thing is crap. They just rushed it out.
Yeah, and that's been my point has been, you don't think all those things will just equal a measly $250 million. That's all the extra it needed to take it from 750 to $1 billion. So I am now just wondering if now, after 5 days at crossing $500 million, that this is not going to join the $1 billion.
And I have a feeling the theatrical run is going to be at least 90 days. I wouldn't be shocked. 60 days would shock me.
Well, I mean, I don't know that it's still going to be in the theater in 90 days, but it won't be on home video.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a minimum 90 days before it goes on to home video. They're gonna take every bit of advantage of this.
I mean,
they can.
If Joker hit $1 billion, and this had the hype of No Way Home, the only thing holding it back was the R rating and the content. Because it had the hype of No Way Home.
Yeah, and that's going to keep it from making, like, say, $2 billion for sure. It's going to have an impact, but it wasn't going to keep it from making $1 billion.
No way.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Deadpool and Wolverine just crossed the $500 million mark in 5 days. What do you think the ceiling on this is? I'm still thinking about 1.1, 1.2 billion is what it's going to get. I see some people in the live chat are saying 1.5. Some people are saying 1.3. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's go on and talk about this, shall we? Many of you know that right now, one of my most anticipated movies, now that we've seen Deadpool and things like that, one of my most anticipated movies is, of course, James Gunn's Superman. I believe from day one, when they announced that they were going to restart everything and they put James Gunn and Peter Safran in charge of the new DC universe, I have been 100% on board with that. A guy who managed to bring fabulous movies and success to Warner Brothers and to Marvel with his Guardians of the Galaxy, with Peacekeeper, with Suicide Squad, which granted, Suicide Squad didn't make a lot of money at the box office, pandemic, and it just looked weird, but it was marvelous. It was so good. And I still think Peacemaker is the greatest DC show ever on television. I really do. I just think it's that good. But anyway, and it's coming out, of course, next year. But now, that little word I like to use, tangibilization, has happened. Because this movie ain't a theory anymore. Because James Gunn has got on social media now and let the world know it's done. The post-production isn't finished. They still have visual effects work, but the actual shooting of the movie is done. And he shared this picture. They did their final shooting day in Norway, which this is a bit of a stretch maybe, but I'm guessing they're doing Fortress of Solitude scenes up there.
That's where my mind went as well.
Which would be interesting, because if you look in this picture, Lex Luthor's there.
Oh, yeah, he is there.
Nicholas Holt's there.
Well,
so if they are doing the Fortress of Solitude, and we don't know that's what they're doing with this particular scene, but if they are, it's really interesting that Nicholas Hoult is there. So anyway, James Gunn got on social media, shared that picture, and then he wrote the following. He said, "And that's a wrap. God bless our cast and crew whose commitment, creativity, and hard work have brought this project to life. This is the part I think a lot of people are going to like hearing. I set out to make a movie about a good man in a world that isn't always so much. And the goodness and kindness and love I've encountered on a daily basis on the set has inspired me and thrust me forward when I felt too spent to move on my own. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. It has been an honor. The destination has been Superman. but the journey has been the toil and the laughter and the emotions and ideas and magic we've shared together on set. And for that, I am forever grateful. Photo from our first week of shooting in Svalbard, Norway. So anyway, the movie's done.
It's in the can.
It's shot. And it's so... Whenever there's a big movie that they're all really excited about, whenever it hits that moment that the shooting is now finished, like for me, that's when it becomes real. Like there's a level of it when we find out they've started shooting. But for me, the movie really becomes real once the director or the actors or whatever get on and say, and that's a wrap. We've done. It's now there. We take it into the editing room now. We do our visual effects, although I'm sure they've been working on visual effects this whole time regardless. But still, it's there. And it just makes me... I don't think I realized until last night when I saw this, that James Gunn was saying they were done shooting. I know I've been excited for this movie. I don't think I realized how excited I've been. It was when this announcement came out that it's done shooting that my engine really started revving. And it's for a number of different reasons, right? This isn't just another movie coming out. And it's not even just another James Gunn movie, which would be enough to get me excited on its own. This is the first film of the brand new cinematic universe.
Yeah. It's not just a film wrapping. It's a universe beginning.
Yes, it's a whole universe beginning. It's not Thor Part 5.
Right.
Although I'm looking forward to Thor Part 5. No disparagement to Thor Part 5, but this is going to be our first taste and really our first understanding about what this universe is going to be. What is it ultimately going to function like? What's it going to be like? Every filmmaker will bring their own unique, fingerprints to it for sure. But it's that first movie that's going to lay the groundwork and say, this is the tone of our universe. And that's why I've said, I don't at all intend to add more pressure to James Gunn, but you better fucking knock this one out of the park. Like this, if this was Thor 5, okay, you drop the ball a little bit, whatever, no big deal.
You have a track record.
No, they have to crush it, especially with them being in rehabilitation mode, because the whole world gave up on the DC cinematic universe. They all gave up on it. Nobody went to go see Blue Beetle, despite the fact that it was actually pretty good. Nobody went to go see The Flash, despite the fact that it was pretty good. Wasn't the greatest comic book movie of all time, as some people try to say it was, but it was pretty good. But nobody was going to go see it. Even Black Adam with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in it couldn't crack $400 million. So the importance of them absolutely crushing it, they don't have to make $1 billion. It doesn't have to do huge at the box office. Right. It's got to be great, though, to set up future success. Because if they shit the bed, and I don't believe for a second that James Gunn will, but the pressure is there, because if they do, I don't know that there's any coming back from that. If you're what's the old saying? You only get one chance to make a first impression. It's it. This is it. This is it, Gunn. This is your first impression. Not screenshots, not set photos. I mean, the movie coming out is the first impression. They've got to crush it. Yeah. And I've got no reason to believe that James Gunn won't do it, but he better do it.
Yeah, because you can't do this and then what's the follow-up? Is it Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow? You can't be like, oh, but this one's the one that's going to be good and get... No. Yeah. It's got to be this.
Who's going to be excited about Supergirl if this movie sucks?
Right.
I'll give you a spoiler alert. No one. But if this movie's great, everybody's going to be buzzing about Supergirl. Because remember, Alcock's going to be making her debut in this movie. We're going to meet her in this movie. And if the movie crushes it, it's kind of like how when they introduced Black Panther in Civil War. If Civil War had sucked, I don't know that that nearly half of the amount of people would have been excited about Black Panther. But Civil War crushed it. That's where they introduced Black Panther. Everybody got excited. Black Panther made over $1 billion, got nominated for Best Picture of the Year at the Academy Awards, all that kind of stuff. It really is going to be a fork in the road for Superman. We'll see which way it goes. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this. James Gunn has announced that they have done photography. The cameras have stopped rolling. They've got it shot, this movie, and now we just got to wait for them to do the post-production. How important is it, do you think, that this movie completely crushes it? Maybe I'm over-exaggerating. Maybe it's not all that important. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? We are still living in the wake of the tsunami that was the news coming out of San Diego Comic-Con on Saturday night, when Marvel, in their Hall H panel, announced, number one, that the Russo brothers were indeed coming back. Number two, that Avengers 5 was now Avengers Doomsday. And number three, and possibly the thing that's made the biggest splash, for good or for ill, is that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back to play Victor Von Doom. More than likely a Tony Stark variant of some kind. Whether that's be, I've offered several theories about what if Tony Stark's great-grandparents came over to America from Europe, because everybody here had a relative at some point come here, unless you're native to this country. So what if in some other universe they never did leave Latveria and he goes on to rule and they keep their original name, Doom. They keep the family name, Von Doom. Because, a lot of immigrant families, when they came over, changed their names to fit in more with the society. My own grandfather, my nonno, when he came over from Italy and brought my dad over and stuff like that. Now, he didn't change our family's last name, but he changed his first name. He went from his real name, Giovanni, and he went by John, which is why my real name is Giovanni and I go by John. So a lot of families did that. And what if that's original? Anyway, there's a million different ways
it's Tony Vondum.
Tony Vondum. There's a million different ways they can do that. So then came news the other day that Robert Downey Jr. was going to, hold on a second, let me pull up the exact, there's a financial term. There it is. Shit ton. A shit ton of money. Robert Downey Jr. is going to be paid a shit ton of money because he was already getting paid tons of money before, and that was before he won an Academy Award. From what I hear, and it could be wrong, I can't independently verify this, but the communications that I'm getting is that he's going to be making $100 million a film, which will equal the highest paydays in Hollywood history for a film. That would tie him with Will Smith, who got paid $100 million at the end of the day for Men in Black 3, and Tom Cruise, who got paid roughly about $100 million for Top Gun Maverick when it was all said and done. And that's what he's going to get. So, here's the thing. Filmagoo is saying it's $50 million a film. Oh, I guarantee you it's not $50 million a film. Once the points and the box office percentage are counted in, it's because Robert Downey Jr. got $75 million for a couple of the other films. He's not taking a 50% pay cut. Who the fuck out there believes that Robert Downey Jr. is going to take a 50% pay cut to come back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? He ain't. When it's all said and done, when back end is counted into it and stuff like that, like it was for Will Smith and Tom Cruise, it's going to end up being about $100 million a film. He's going to get. So, with all that understanding, some people were asking me, John, do you think he could maybe appear in Fantastic Four? And I said, when he's getting paid that much for a film, no.
His agent's happy.
Yeah, his agent's happy.
10% of that or more. Woo.
But I said, no, I do not think they're going to use him in Fantastic Four. It's just a little bit too much. And they don't need him, right? Because Dr. Doom's not going to be the main antagonist of that movie. They don't need him in it, all that kind of stuff, right? But I also did say, to counter my own point, I said, but do any of us actually think it's a coincidence that they announced Robert Downey Jr. is Victor Von Doom the 2 days before they start shooting Fantastic Four? Like, is that a coincidence? Well, according to a new report out there, Robert Downey Jr. is going to appear as Dr. Doom a lot sooner than we think. And it's going to be, according to Jeff Snyder, in Fantastic Four. Most likely, though, in a mid or post-credit scene. Now, it's funny because somebody asked me on one of the shows in the last couple of days, could I see, Robert Downey, like if they were to have Robert Downey Jr. pop up in Fantastic Four, how would they do it? And I said, well, if they did, it would probably just be something very small, like a post-credit scene. And I can see it now. You see the back of some big, dark green cloaked figure looking at a giant screen, probably seeing the fallout of whatever happened in the movie. And like a servant comes up behind him and says, "Sir, will you be wanting the car?" And you just hear, "In due time, I need to see how this unfolds." And then it cuts back to the servant who goes, "Very well, Master Von Doom." And then you close up of the back of the hooded figure who then turns around, and it's Robert Downey Jr. saying, "I'm the dude who's playing the dude who's playing another dude." Mark my words, that's the exact line that's going to be in the post-credits scene. "I'm the dude playing another dude." That's what he'll say.
$1 billion guaranteed.
$1 billion film right there, all on its own. So, look, I believe this report because it makes sense. Again, I don't think I never did think it was a pure coincidence that they announced Robert Downey Jr. was coming 48 hours before they start shooting Fantastic Four.
It's possible he's already shot his, his mid-credit scene.
You could 1,000% be right. Because remember, there were reports out there that they had already, even though official shooting doesn't begin until Tuesday, remember, there were reports going around, we talked about it the other week, that they had actually already shot a couple of scenes, a couple of quick short scenes, because of scheduling of some of the performers, right? So your theory that they may have already shot that stuff could very well be true, and which would make it essential that they announce it at Comic-Con, because if they did shoot that stuff, and we're speculating here, but if they've already shot his little post-credit scene appearance, you can't take the risk that leaks out. You got to take control of it and make a big announcement out of it, rather than risking, I don't know, Variety finding out about it and then putting it out as a news story. And then you lose all the pop from it instead of just taking advantage of it and taking control of the narrative.
It's already shot. It's like, well, yeah, we already announced he did it. So
yeah. So I think, and again, this is me speculating, I think this report is right and that he is going to appear in a post-credit scene. Because what more appropriate place to have our first glimpse of him than in a Fantastic Four movie? And I think you're right. When you combine this with the reports that they already shot a couple of little things due to scheduling, I think you're right that they probably already shot his scenes.
I'm fairly certain. I won't say like 90%, but I'm going to go 65% certain they already shot Downey's scenes as Doom.
Now, I've had a bunch of people writing into me, I've been seeing in the live chat and writing into me about a part of the theory is that whoever it is, like whatever they do with Doom, you're going to have like a Thanos moment at the beginning of Infinity War. Because how did Infinity War start? Thanos is introduced on screen, having just killed almost all the Asgardians. He kills Heimdall. He beats the crap out of Thor. And then he kills Loki. And then Loki goes, "We have a Hulk." And then he literally beats down Hulk. That set the stage. Now, I've had a few people writing in about what they could do with like a Victor Von Doom with a Tony Stark face. And somebody wrote, "How's this for heartbreak? How's this for heartbreak?" Somebody wrote in and said he kills Pepper. Oh my, can you imagine that? If the guy who looks like Tony with their daughter watching, "I love you 3000. I'm going to kill your mom." That doesn't seem right, right? Like in front of Stark's daughter, like kills Pepper.
Just
like,
surrounded by all the cheeseburgers she can eat.
Surrounded by all the cheese, and kills maybe Happy in the process. kills Happy Hogan trying to defend Pepper or something like that, right? Or maybe she doesn't need defending. Maybe she's got the, what's the name of her suit again? Rescue? I think the name of her suit is Rescue. I think that is. Anyway, so she's in her own suit. And he kills her. If you want to make the audience instantly hate this character, kill Pepper. But here's my thing that somebody else brought up as well. Is that that would be fine. That sets him as, oh, we hate you, but it doesn't set him as the most fearsome threat out there. Maybe what they should do is a little bit at the beginning of Infinity War, where maybe it's not Happy trying to defend Pepper. Maybe it's like, I don't know, it's got to be a heavyweight. Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, who went toe-to-toe with Thanos, and Doom beats her down. Just gives her a beatdown of epic proportions. Or, I don't know, play it again. Bring back Hawaiian Shirt Hulk.
There you go.
Family Barbecue Hulk. Bring out Family Barbecue Hulk and let him get beat down again. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point.
Oh, geez. What is it? Why am I the wrestling term where you're made to look weak to make the other guy look better?
Jobbing.
Yeah, so they're just gonna job him.
Yeah, Hulk is just gonna become a job. Now, Hulk did not job in the first. That was an important narrative function. Like it set the stage for the whole movie. It was important. And it was at the hands of somebody that in a previous film called Thanos the most powerful being in the galaxy. So losing a fight to Thanos isn't jobbing. But, I mean, Hawaiian Shirt Family Barbecue Hulk, yeah, that's a career jobber. That dude's just a career jobber at this point. But anyway, I think the reports are right. I will find out. I'm sure more news will come out about this. Guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? Apparently, we're going to get our first look at Robert Downey Jr. as Victor Von Doom, probably in a post-credit scene in Fantastic Four. Does that feel appropriate to you? I kind of think it does. Do you think Jonathan's right and they've probably already shot the scene? I mean, we already know they did shoot a couple scenes. It would make sense if it was Robert Downey Jr.'s. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Hungryroot. We want to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Hungryroot. Guys, you know me, I like things that make my life easier, especially things that make it easier for me to eat healthy and eat well, and certainly more effectively than trying to order from food delivery services. Hungryroot is the easiest way to eat healthy. They send you fresh, high-quality groceries, simple, delicious recipes, and essential supplements. It's like having someone else do all the planning and shopping so you don't even have to think about it. Hungryroot gets to know your personal health goals, dietary restrictions, favorite foods, how much time you want to spend cooking, and more. Then, they build you a personalized cart with all your grocery needs for the week, including easy 4-ingredient recipes to put those groceries to use. Each order is fully customizable so you can take their suggestions or choose anything you want. They've got fresh produce, high-quality meat and seafood, healthy snacks, smoothies, sweets, ready-to-eat meals, kids snacks and meals, vitamins and supplements, and much more. Everything from Hungryroot follows a simple standard. It's got to taste good, be quick to make, and contain whole, trusted ingredients. Right now, Hungryroot is offering the John Campea Show listeners 40% off your first delivery and free veggies for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/Campea to get 40% off your first delivery and get your free veggies. That's hungryroot.com/Campea. Don't forget to use our link so that they know we sent you. And thank you to our friends at Hungryroot for sponsoring today's episode. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what do we got up first?
First up, we got Slim Himbo, who says, wrote in yesterday about Doom maybe being in the same truck explosion as Tony 616. The thought came to me after someone suggested online that the Mark I helmet is the Doom mask. So that mask.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. If they're going to set up Victor Von Doom as a Tony Stark variant, I think they go way further back than that. I don't think it just happens at that point in their universe of where the explosion happens in the truck and then he gets into the cave with the ensign and all. I think it happens before that. Either like back to his childhood, like maybe something like in that world, the Starks, his parents, don't die at the hands of the Winter Soldier. They die in some other accident way earlier in Tony's life when he's like 4 or 5. And then maybe like an uncle from a European uncle adopts him into his family and takes him out there and gives him the new name Victor to go along with the family name Victor Von Doom. Or going even further back than that, where it's something like in that universe, again, Tony Stark's great-grandparents never came over to the States from Europe. They stayed there, and their family name was Von Doom, and he grew up in... Or, you know, there's a lot of different ways they could do it, but I think whatever way they choose, and I'm just guessing, it'll go much further back in that world's timeline than just back to the events of Iron Man 1. At least that's my guess. That's just a guess. You might be right, though. All right, what's next?
Okay, Slim Himbo follows up. Whether they did that or not, I think it would be interesting. No, wait. It would be interesting if he needs the mask to live, paralleling Tony's arc reactor. Could give him a Vader-like aura and add an additional dynamic to the times he doesn't take off his mask.
Well, I mean, that would fall in line with the original origin story of Doctor Doom. Of course, they've kind of changed up Doom many times over the years, but in the original origin story of Doctor Doom, his face gets disfigured. He was a handsome lad, kind of like the origin story of Skeletor. He was a handsome lad, then became disfigured and wore the mask as a new identity so people could never see his face again, and now they see just only Doctor Doom, right? So maybe instead of his heart catching shrapnel, maybe his face gets all effed up. So, I mean, that's possible, but still, I still think they're going to go much further into their past than that. All right, what's next?
All right, Jay Newby says, Doom comes to 616 in wild disbelief. Pepper confronts Doom. He kills Pepper. That's how you tell the audience this ain't
Wasn't
Tony.
I just talking about
Yeah,
this?
it's funny. Not only will the Avengers have to avenge Pepper, but Tony's legacy as well, and give him Tony's disfigured face from Endgame.
So clearly there are people online talking about this potential, right? For Pepper to be again, while Pepper would make a great emotional statement at the beginning of the film, you need also a threat statement. You need him wiping the floor with somebody significant. It can't be Hawkeye. It can't be a black. I mean, it has to be somebody of a certain power level that makes everybody go, damn, he just whooped so-and-so, right? So a Pepper for the emotional angle, somebody hyper powerful, like a Captain Marvel, a Thor, although Thor's already been used in that capacity before, but somebody like that. So establish the emotional stake and establish the threat stake.
Yeah. And it's got to be done, in my opinion, in a way, not even if that has to be done, but any of his killing has to be like, he killed an ant. Like, get out of my way. I'm trying to accomplish, because Doom would do that. It'd be like, what are you, ant? Get out of my way. You know?
What is this? A school for ants?
Yeah, and he crushes them.
All right, what's next?
God. Okay. Anonymous says, hey, John, I asked you a few months ago about your predictions for the $1 billion movies this year. I predicted 4 and you said 2. Now we will have 2 already with Inside Out plus Deadpool. And I can see 2 more in Moana 2, Mufasa, maybe Joker 2. What do you think?
I don't think Mufasa is going to make a lot of money, but I don't think it makes $1 billion. I think Joker 2 is going to make a lot of money, but I don't think it makes $1 billion. Remember, the first Joker barely crossed the $1 billion mark. And while I love the film, not everybody did. Right? Like, not everybody loved Joker. I did, though. I thought it was awesome. I thought it deserved a Best Picture nomination. Pardon me. So I thought it was great. But because of that, I don't think it makes $1 billion. The big ones for me are Moana, and I still think Wicked. I think so many people, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Wicked is going to be a $1.5 billion film or anything like that, but I think so many people are sleeping on Wicked. I think Wicked's going to be really good. I know there's no other movie coming out this year that my wife isn't more, and all of her friends are all most excited about is Wicked. Mm-hmm. And so I think the 2 biggest potentials are Moana 2 and Wicked. That's how I see it at any rate. All right, what's next?
We got David who says, hey, John, I know there's no way to know this now, but I thought it would be still be fun to ask. Do you think the Russo brothers, if given the liberty, will shoot for another 3-hour runtime with either Doomsday or Secret Wars or both? Thanks for everything.
it's really not up to them. It's up to Kevin Feige about what that does. But it all depends on how much story they have to tell, right? It all depends on how much story they have to tell. If they need to tell a whole, like, listen, they just did Deadpool and Wolverine in 2 hours, and it was great. It was the perfect runtime. It didn't need, actually, I would even suggest Deadpool and Wolverine could have maybe been 5, 6, 7 minutes shorter. But it was perfect for that. It doesn't need to be 3 hours. I mean, look, if the story calls for a 3-hour movie, great, make it 3 hours. But there seems to be this belief out there that longer equals better. And that's just not true. That's as untrue as saying shorter equals better. Every movie, every story has its unique runtime that would be best for it. And if that's going to be the 3-hour mark, then that's what the Russos and Kevin Feige are going to do. But they're not going to say, you know what we need to do? We need to make a 3-hour movie and then force their story. It's like, wait a second, we really wrap this thing up good in about 2 hours and 30 minutes. We'll pad it with an extra 30 minutes, so it's 3 hours. Because only if it's 3 hours is it epic. No, they're not going to do that. If the story they came up with necessitates 3 hours, that's what they're going to do. But they're not going to start off by saying, how long should we make this movie? That's not what they're going to do. They're going to make out the story, and then they're going to go, okay, now how long will it tell to make this story? And that's what they'll go with. All right, what's next?
Okay, War Chief Thrall says, if you were...
I love the username, by the way.
If you were the writer and or director for the next MCU movie to feature Deadpool, how would you go about making him a PG-13 ready character? I'm super curious how MCU will handle it, but I'd like to hear your opinion. Longtime watcher, love the show. I have a theory, but go ahead.
What's your theory?
Okay, I think it would be absolutely funny if he like drops like an F-bomb or whatever, and he gets bleeped. And it's like fourth wall is broken. Like, what the bloop was that? Like, bloop. And something like, I've been Feige'd again. And he goes on, like, he just like loses his temper, and it's just bleep, 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 bleep. And then you're always allowed at least one F.
Yes. So
something really epic happens, and he just lets out a fuck, and he says it, gets away with it, and then he's like, what? I guess, like a that one got through, something like that.
Oh, whatever he appears in next, they'll definitely bleep him. But again, I don't think we're getting a Deadpool 4, right? I think just like the person writing the question is asking, I think he's going to appear in PG-13. And listen, there's a lot you can do with him in PG-13, right? Not every joke he made in Deadpool and Wolverine even was R-rated. I mean, some of the best lines didn't even have any R-rating stuff in it. Although I did love the line, fucky, fucky. I did love that line. That was hilarious. But I think it's exactly what it said. You get one F-bomb in a PG-13 movie. Clearly, that'll be saved for Deadpool. He'll drop like a massive one at some point. And then I think we've been saying this for years. Then everything else, it'll just be him. They'll be beeping him out. Right. They'll be beeping his stuff out. Yeah. All right. What's next?
All right. Darth AI says, Avengers to Doom. Do you know who you are? RDJ as Doom. I know who I am. I'm the dude playing a dude disguised as... Oh, come on. What is happening here? As another dude.
Great minds.
I watched the Les Grossman dance scene, and RDJ never go full retard at least once a month.
If
Les Grossman characters.
If they ended Doomsday with Dr. Doom doing the Les Grossman dance from the end of Tropic Thunder with Ludacris saying, get back. Like, if doing that and seeing Robert Downey Jr., I would lose my mind. I'll start writing the Oscars and say, just give this movie all the Oscars. I will lose my freaking mind in the movie theater. It would be the greatest thing I'd ever seen in cinema. All right. What's next?
Jonathan Edmiston says, I think the RDJ choice will produce a good result, but doing an accurate original Doctor Doom has so much greater potential. It is a desperation move to pay for guys to come back who said they are done with Marvel.
Okay, here's the thing, Jonathan. There's two fallacies in your statement. Okay, let's start with the first one. Can you bring the thing up again? When you say that doing an accurate Doctor Doom has so much greater potential, here's why that's a nonsensical statement. You don't know what the new story is. You can't possibly say with any logical, objective foundation that has more potential than this. You don't even know what this other one is yet. So take a breath. Second thing, bring up the thing again.
Uh-huh.
I think the RD choice will produce a good result. That's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing that matters. Does it produce a great result? That's it. Nothing else matters. That is the be all and end all. That is the mission. Do you accomplish the mission? Now, here's the third fallacy. Bring it up again. I think doing an accurate original Doctor Doom has so much greater potential. Here's a question for you. What's accurate? Which version of Doctor Doom? Which writer's interpretation of the character? Before he learned sorcery? Is it the 1970s version of him where he was distinctly different than he was in like the 2000s run? And here's the thing. You can get 3 Doctor Doom fans in the room and you can say, I want an accurate Doctor Doom. Well, you could describe your accurate Doctor Doom, and the guy beside you, who is also a big comic book Doctor Doom fan, will look at you like you're crazy and say, that's not an accurate Doctor Doom. This is an accurate Doctor Doom, right? So that's, it's just littered with fallacies. Number one, you can't say this has more potential than that when you don't even know what that is. Number two, when you say you want an accurate Doctor Doom, what you really mean is Doctor Doom the way you understand him, but there's a lot of hardcore comic book fans who've been reading Doom a long time that might disagree with what you think is a comic accurate Doctor Doom. And then saying, yeah, the movie might end up being great. Well, that's the point. The point is to end up being great. I always say this, and people don't like it when I say this, but it's often lonely being right. The number one job of filmmakers is not to stay as accurate as possible to the source material. Fuck, the comic books don't stay accurate to their own source material. They change all the time. All the time they change. But the number one job of a movie maker is not to be as faithful as possible to the original source material. The number one job of a movie maker is to make the best movie possible. That's why The Boys is better than the comic book version of The Boys is. It just is. I mean, obviously it's subjective, that's up for debate, but there's a lot of us who believe that the television show, which takes a lot of liberties and made a lot of changes, that show's better than the comic book was. And it wouldn't have been as good as if they just stuck to the comic book. So all I'm saying is, number one, nobody has the patent on what an accurate comic book Doctor Doom is. Number two, you can't say A is better than B when you don't even know what B is, or A has the bigger potential than B when you don't even know what B is. And at the end of the day, the whole point is just to make a great movie. And if they accomplish all of that, that's all that matters. Anyway, thanks for writing that in. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. I do. And it's great that we have different points of view and different opinions on that. You express yours. I'm just expressing mine. Don't take that as any kind of personal attack on you. I'm just talking about the issues at hand. All right. What's next?
Berserk says, hey, John, did you see Amazon announced a VOT Rising show with Soldier Boy and Stormfront as the leads? Can't wait for that.
You would think I would be super excited about that because I love The Boys. I love Gen V and I love Soldier Boy. I just don't like prequels. Now, there are prequels that I do like. There are exceptions. 100% there are exceptions. But in general, I want to see stories being told moving forward. So I might get excited once I start seeing some promotion for it and I start to get a sense of what it's going to be like. But I'd be lying to you right now if I told you I was super excited for it because I generally like my stuff to move forward. All right. What's next?
Excuse me. Your Orlando Informer says, about the question in your After Dark show about watching credits. If you can't remember at least one name, you just wasted 10 minutes watching credits on what was the point of sitting there and reading names. Test your friend who insists on sitting there. We're not there to memorize names.
Well, so what happened was on After Dark last night, somebody wrote in like a really interesting question, a topic I hear get brought up a lot, which is forget about post-credit scenes. Forget about that. Do you sit through the credits of a movie? Not for post-credit, but do you sit? Because there are a lot of film fans, not the majority, obviously, but there's a bunch of film fans out there who believe that it's disrespectful to the people who made the film to leave before the credits roll. And I said, on After Dark last night. Hey, kudos to you if you're one of those people. If you believe it's respectful to stay during the credits, then I applaud that you stay during the credits. That's great. That's wonderful. I certainly won't be staying with you. Do you know why? This is what I said last night. Because I don't owe this movie or anybody who made it anything. You know what I owe them? Price of admission. That's what I owe the movie. That's what I owe everybody who worked very hard on that movie. I owe them price of admission. But make no mistake, once I have paid the price of admission, I owe you nothing. If I want to get up and walk out after 5 minutes, that is my purview. If I want to get up and walk out 5 minutes before the end of the film, that is my right. That is my purview. I owe you nothing except for the price of the ticket. And once the movie ends and the credits start to roll, believe me, I have a world of respect for people who make movies. I can't believe the amount of creative power that goes into making a movie. That's amazing. But sitting down through a bunch of credits does not do anything for the people who made the movie. They don't know I did it. It's not like for every 1 minute that you sit and take in the credits, everybody who worked on the movie gets $1 extra. Okay, if that was the case, I'd probably sit through more credits, but it doesn't. And just like our viewer just wrote and said, you probably can't even name a single name that was in the credits. So, yes, I do not sit through credits, but if you're somebody who does, then kudos to you. That's great if you do. I just don't feel the same way about that.
I know that, when you go to see industry screenings, or like below the line screenings or whatever, and you're into the industry, it is a sign of respect that you sit through that.
Sure.
Because you're in the industry.
And particularly if you're like at industry screenings or if you're at a film festival screening, I know more people than not, because the actual people, if you're at a film festival screening, the actual people in the credits are probably there in the theater with you, right? So that's different.
Yeah.
And I could totally see that.
But that's not at your local AMC or whatever.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
All right. Hank McCoy says, why is it that writers get the short end of the stick when it comes to salary compared to directors and actors? Not saying they should get paid the same amount as an A-list actor, just knowing writing is the first foundation of any project, underappreciated.
There's a couple of different, well, I mean, listen, I've said for a long time that writers deserve more recognition. But there is also a reality to the situation. There's a lot of writers out there. Everybody thinks they're a writer. You can't go into a coffee shop in a 100-mile radius of Los Angeles without seeing every table being taken up by a screenwriter, sitting down with a half-eaten bagel and a half-drunk cup of coffee, pounding as they sit up and take up a chair in a coffee shop for 6 hours for $1.75, writing their screenplay. And here's the other thing. While a good screenplay is the building blocks and foundation of any great movie, there are a lot of great screenplays that get turned into bad movies. There just are. I've read screenplays to movies that were fantastic, and then the movie comes out and it was terrible. Not to mention, generally speaking, the audience doesn't get motivated to go to the movies based on the name of the writer of the movie. There are a few little exceptions. Why am I freezing on West Wing's writer?
Oh my God.
I'm looking at his face in my head right now.
I am too.
And he wrote...
I'm bringing it.
He wrote Moneyball too with Aaron Sorkin.
Sorkin, thank you.
Thank you. That guy, yes, was the first guy in the live chat putting it. Aaron Sorkin. Like, there are a few exceptions like an Aaron Sorkin, but that's just part of the reality of it, is that you start with the building blocks, which is a good screenplay, but then it's really up to the director and everybody else to take that and actually manifest it into something special. And I'm not saying that justifies that writers get paid so little. I'm not saying that at all, not in the least. Don't misunderstand me. But if you're asking why the situation exists as it does, that's a little bit of why. Although it still needs to be adjusted. All right, what's next?
Shut Up Crime says, "Hi, John.
Shut up, crime.
I'm likely alone in this thought, but while we wait for the Broccoli's to complete their search for the next Bond, I would have loved to have seen a one-off old man Bond movie with Pierce Brosnan returning with that killer gray beard." I mean, I have a thought on that.
Okay. First of all, I love Pierce Brosnan.
Oh yeah, especially from as
Black Adam?
Justice Society. Yeah.
Yeah, as Dr. Fate.
Yeah.
But I've always loved Pierce Brosnan. But I'm going to say one thing. Dial of Destiny. I think the audience doesn't really want to see en masse an older, aging action hero. Like, it's one thing when Sylvester Stallone does it, right? But Sylvester Stallone wasn't in his 80s when he did The Expendables. Now, Pierce Brosnan is not in his 80s. How old is Pierce Brosnan now? Can you look that up?
Look that up, yeah.
But I just don't know that they're going to be... Well, I would be interested in it because I'm a big Pierce Brosnan guy. I don't know
71.
So he's in his 70s now, and he ain't Sylvester Stallone.
Right.
Right? He don't look like Sylvester Stallone. By the way, I really like King of Tulsa. I'm looking forward to the return of that. Anyway,
I want to start it. But yeah.
It's fun. It's not going to win any Emmys, but it's fun. I like it. So I'd be down for it, and I think there'd be a few of us who would. I don't know that it would make. I don't think it would make much money, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, you raised what was the movie you raised?
Dial of Destiny.
Dial of Destiny.
Indiana Jones.
And I'll see you. Never Say Never Again. 1983. Sean Connery came back. You had already had two different Bonds in between. The man came back, and it flopped hard.
Yep.
So, you know.
All right, what's next?
We got John Ford Truths. I thought bringing back Toby, Andrew, Hugh et al. Were desperate, creative, bankrupt decisions. I don't care how much money the movie's made. Yet, I think there's a lot of potential for RDJ as Doom. First time multiverse casting feels interesting to me. Why is some fan service considered desperation?
Because
I mean, you can feel that
somebody
way.
wants
Fine.
it to be. Look, here's the thing. What is the job of a filmmaker? Make a movie that the audience enjoy, love, have a great fun experience with, a positive experience with, whether it's horror, drama, period piece, whatever, that the audience has an emotional attachment to and experiences a visceral kind of experience, whatever it is, and leaves with a sense of joy. And then on the flip side of that hopefully that piece of art that you created then goes on and has monetary success. So that, because it costs money to make these movies, so that more movies can be made. Why is it that when a filmmaker accomplishes all of that, hey, we made a movie. And by bringing back Toby and Andrew, something that really hadn't been done much before, by doing that, we gave the audience a huge amount of joy. People loved the movie. They left the movie having had a really great experience, and movies are nothing but experiential events. And on the flip side, the results of that were that we made a shit ton of money, so that more movies can be made. Why is that success looked at as desperate? It's they came up with an idea and it worked on both levels. It thrilled the audiences, created a movie everybody enjoyed, and ultimately had financial success. Isn't that what every filmmaker should be trying to do? Do you think it's more noble to go, I don't know, cast Ray Aura as Goblin? Chef Pleasures as Green Goblin. Like, do you think like that's somehow more noble? If that's more noble, that's the real artist way to do No. Your job as an artist is to deliver a great experience to your audience and then hopefully make enough money back that it justified the money spent to make it and give people money that they can make another film with. Anyway, so I don't understand the logic of that. But that being said, I feel like so many people are just sticking their heads in the sand over this Robert Downey Jr.'s Victor Von Doom. It's not what I would have done. But I think you are purposefully closing your eyes and going, nah, 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 if you don't recognize there's some very cool potential here. Again, not what I would have done, but they're not doing what I would have done. So, okay, I can either cry about that or I can be more objective and look at what they are doing and say, hey, look, I recognize there's a lot of potential here. This could be great. So let's see how it works out. All right, what's next?
Matan says they could, with the money they are paying too much for RDJ and the Russos to pay the creators for once, not treat the VFX artists like trash or make Oppenheimer or make Oppenheimer. Okay, I see. Period. Marvel has a huge budget problem where they spend on everything besides the VFX.
Okay. Let me just start off by saying you clearly don't understand how the visual effects industry works. All right. Number one, there is not a, what is it in The Witcher when like one of the women uses magic, like say to create life, something else dies, right? There's a balance. If they were paying Robert Downey Jr. $5 to make this movie, it wouldn't give $1 extra to the visual effects people. Now remember, just to remind you of my background, I come from a visual effects background. I worked for a number of years at a visual effects company, both as a bit of a compositor myself and mostly as client services. But I worked at a visual effects company, a 3D animation visual effects company. There is no causality between what they're paying Robert Downey Jr. and what they're paying the visual effects artists. Also, Marvel doesn't pay the visual effects artists. Did you understand that? Listen to that again. This is important for you to get. Marvel does not pay the visual effects artists. The visual effects companies those artists work for pay the visual effects artists, not Marvel. Marvel doesn't pay them. The visual effects companies that they work for pay them. Here's how it works. All right. Actually, let me see if I can bring this up in my class. Give me a second here, Jonathan. I'm going to see if I can bring up the classroom here because I think this is important to get. And give me a second just to clear the space here. All right. So we're going to go VFX. All right. So here is the life span, the life cycle of visual effects. All right. So, first of all, studio puts out a tender to the VFX companies telling them the shots needed and the timeline required. All right, so the studios put together a document. Right. And they can put together multiple of these for like, they can break up the movie into like 18 different visual effects contracts, like one contract for these shots, one contract for these shots. They can do that. But just to keep it simple, a studio will put together a document that is sometimes known as a tender, right? That basically lays out how many visual effects shots are needed in the film, what kind of visual effects shots, a basic breakdown, the timelines that they have, and then they send that out to the visual effects companies. Now, at that point, the visual effects companies bid on the job.
They're contractors. Right? It's just like any other contractor kind of thing.
They bid on the job. So the bosses at a visual effects company, let's make one up. Let's call it iPhone Effects. All right.
Nice.
And we've got Arsham Effects, two different visual effects companies, right? I want the job. No, I want the job. Okay. So you got iPhone Effects and Arsham Effects, these big visual effects companies. They both get the tender and they sit down with their accountants and their creatives and their line producers, and they spend some time putting together an estimate of how much they believe they can do this job for. Well, iPhone Visual Effects believes they can meet all the requirements that the studio has for $40 million. But Arsham, the Judge VFX, comes in and says, that's cute. We can do the job for $34 million. All right, that's the process. It's the same in construction. It's the same in all over the place. It's basically the same principle, right? So then Disney goes, all right, well, Arsham the judge, we know they're both great visual effects companies. We know they're both do a great job. Arsham the judge visual effects says they can do it for $35 million. Great, that saves us $5 million. You get the contract. And they award the contract to Arsham the judge. Now, here's the problem. Billy, the USB drive, is a visual effects artist. And he works for Arsham. Now, Arsham's got to go to his employees and say, well, look, guys, we undercut Apple iPad or Apple iPhone visual effects by $5 million, which means for us to be able to do this job, we're going to need you to work 12, extra hours a week. We're going to need you to work on Saturdays, and we're not going to pay you an extra overtime because we got to find. Do you see what's happening here? It ain't Marvel deciding how much visual effects artists get paid. It's the visual effects companies. I've been saying this forever. Visual effects artists, their problems are not going to be solved by studios. Now, don't get me wrong. There are issues with the relationship between the studios and the visual effects companies. 100% there are, but that's not what we're talking about right now. That's a totally different discussion. One worth having, but a different one. What I've been saying forever is that visual effects artists need to unionize. Now, we're starting to see that happen, but they need to unionize so that the owners of these visual effects companies can't start putting in lowball offers to the studios, which ultimately means they have to mistreat their staff in order to meet those undercut budgets. They need to unionize to say, hey, visual effects companies, you need to budget with the understanding that we will not work more than, I don't know, obviously there's going to be overtime, but we will not work more than 55 hours a week. We will not work more than 2 weekend days in a month. And we at minimum have to be paid this. So when you, Arsham, the visual effects company, put in your bid to Warner Brothers or Disney or Paramount or whatever, you have to make your bid with the understanding of how much it's actually going to cost. So us VFX artists who work for you get paid properly and get treated properly. It's not Marvel. It's not. Now, again, there's another layer to this broken system between the studios and the visual effects companies. But when it comes to how the individual artists are treated, that's on the visual effects companies. That part's got to be on them. And the visual, not only do they, and I know I'm going on about this, let me just finish with this. Not only do I believe visual effects artists need to unionize, I think that the visual effects companies themselves have to create their own trade organizations where they together agree on certain standards. Because Arsham the Judge VFX raising their standards to treat their employees better isn't going to do any good if iPhone visual effects keeps undercutting and treating their effects artists like garbage. So we need unionization for the workers. We need a trade organization for the visual effects companies that can come up with certain standards. So they know we can't just underbid each other ridiculous amounts and then take it out on our employees. So it's not a Marvel thing. It's not a Warner Brothers thing. Not at this level. It is on another level. But anyway, there's that. Okay, what's next?
Jamie Perez with a $30 tips.
Oh, thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, it says, hi, John and team. Love the show. Couple of questions. Would love to see Jessica Jones back. Do you think she will be in Daredevil Born Again or in a future project somewhere down the line? Also, do you think Luke Cage and Iron Fist will come back? Thanks.
I don't think they have any intention of bringing Iron Fist back. And if they do, it'll be a different Iron Fist. I don't think Mike Coulter has any desire to come back to play Luke Cage again.
I think he was, on record as.
Yeah, he was pretty direct, saying he's not interested in that. And I'll be honest, I don't like Jessica Jones. I'm one of the very few people, and I acknowledge a lot of people love Jessica Jones, the show. A lot of people loved it. That's great. I wish I did, but I didn't. I didn't like the character. So I think there's a half decent chance we see her in Daredevil Born Again. I just won't be broken up about it if she's not. But for those of you who do really love the character, I think there's probably a pretty decent chance you do see her in the series. We'll have to wait and find out. Not too much longer now. All right. What's next?
Jay Newbie says, John, the coolest thing happened. I make movie reviews on TikTok, and I was approached by someone to screen the movie Coup before its limited theatrical release on Friday. They sent me a link to watch it and loved it. Thank you for the inspiration.
That's awesome. Yeah, Coup is the movie with the bad guy from the new Roadhouse movie. Not Conor McGregor, but the guy he works for. And Peter Skarsgård is in it. I know this because their PR have been reaching out to me a lot, asking me to interview the guys on our channel. John, don't you like that guy and Peter Skarsgård? Oh, I love Peter Skarsgård. I do, but I don't do interviews. I don't accept interviews, right? So, but otherwise, by the way, that Coup movie looks pretty good. If you guys haven't heard about it, go check out the trailer for it. It actually looks pretty interesting. All right, what's next?
Darth Bray says, hey, John, I'm about to see Deadpool and Wolverine for the third time on Friday.
Nice.
The one thing I was very excited for in the movie was to see if there are any Wrexham references. Holy moly. RR confirmed that spoilers. Paul Mullins is in the movie on his Instagram.
Yeah,
it's not really a spoiler. I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's not really, because you don't see his face anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple of players. Ollie, I forget his last name. I froze on it last night too. Guys in the live chat, do you guys remember the name of the other Wrexham player? Big guy with the beard, the tallest guy on the team, I think, with the beard. Anyway, this Ollie guy is in the movie from Wrexham. He's in one of the bar scenes, and Paul Mullen is plays something else, but you don't see his face. It's covered the whole time. Ollie Palmer, thanks for that. Mabs, I think Mabs is the first one to say that. So Ollie Palmer's in it and Paul Mullen's in it. So I saw Ollie Palmer. I didn't see Paul Mullen because, again, he's behind a mask. But it's pretty cool that Ryan Reynolds brings some of the guys from the team over to be in it.
Yeah, it was cool.
All right, what's next?
Wade and Slade Wilson says, love the show. First time question.
Oh, thank you, man.
While vastly different characters, with the success of Deadpool as a trilogy and character, do you think, or would you be interested in DC explored making Deathstroke a prominent figure in their new universe?
I don't know. Now, first of all, one of the best things that the Arrowverse ever did was their iteration of Deathstroke. That was great. I loved the Deathstroke that they had in the Arrowverse. He was awesome. He was also in Spartacus, one of my all-time favorite shows. He was Crixus in Spartacus, one of the most badass characters on television. I love that show, and they had a great one. Then they had Joe Manganiello. Joe Manganiello was going to play, Deathstroke. We got a little view of him at the end of Justice League and all that kind of stuff. So that was good. But could I actually see them doing Deathstroke like as an independent character? Now, if you're asking me, could I see them doing Deathstroke as an antagonist in somebody else's movie? Absolutely. I could 100% see that. I could 100% see that of him being an antagonist in somebody else's movie. Could I see them giving him the Deadpool treatment where he becomes his own protagonist in it and all that kind of stuff? That I don't think they could. I don't think they could, and I don't think they would. So as a villain of the week, as a maybe even a slightly recurring antagonist, yes, it's a cool character. But could you give him the Deadpool treatment, give him his own franchise? I don't think so. Who knows? James Gunn is super creative. He might come up with something. All right, what's next?
David says, John, I got to say, John, I'm impressed with your record for how many times you've seen a single movie in theaters. My record is only half yours. I saw The Northman in theaters 4 times.
I love The Northman.
Adored that film. My favorite of 2022. Love your show, man.
First of all, thanks for that, David. I love The Northman.
Yeah.
Speaking of Skarsgårds, I thought The Northman was wonderful. And one of the big reasons, because Robert Eggers directed that, and he's got his new Nosferatu movie coming out. One of the reasons I'm big excited about that. Damn it, I was bring up his question again because there was something else he mentioned that I forgot. Sorry. So Thor isn't my record. That's the record of Ann and I seeing movies together.
Yeah.
My actual record is the number of times I've seen a movie that I actually hate. I went to see Star Wars The Phantom Menace 17 times in theaters.
I just think of all the hours you gave up.
Well, here's the thing, though. Remember I was just mentioning that I worked for a number of years at a visual effects company? It was when The Phantom Menace came out.
Yeah. To dissect that would be a huge thing.
Oh, listen. Whatever you think about that movie, and it's garbage, but whatever you think about the movie, no movie in history has ever propelled the visual effects industry forward more than The Phantom Menace did. Like, other movies come out that move the industry ahead 2 or 3 steps. The Phantom Menace came out and literally moved the industry up 17 steps.
And you had to see it 17 times.
So what would happen is, at the visual effects company, many days, we would go, hey, what are you doing right now? I just delivered this to the client. What are you doing? Oh, I just wrapped up this. I've got this thing going on the render farm right now. Staff meeting? Staff meeting. Staff meeting meant let's go to the cheap theater and go watch The Phantom Menace and ooh and awe at the visual effects again. And so we ended up going to see it 17 times just to watch the visual effects. All right, what's next?
Logan Vaughn says, theory, what if RDJ is playing multiple variants? The Avengers could decide that they need to find a good Tony Stark variant from a universe where he's still alive in order to defeat Doom. Who else can defeat evil Tony but good Tony?
You know what? There's an element, there's a foundational element to your suggestion there that would make sense. Now, look, I am definitely not saying they're going to use this as a vehicle to bring back a true version of the hero self of Tony Stark from Earth 615, who's practically completely identical to the 616 Tony. They very well could be using this as a mechanic to do that. There's also a comic book storyline where like the body of Tony Stark is like possessed by Doom. I don't think they're going to do that. That's why I don't bring it up, but that's possible too. And then at some point that Doom gets kicked out of Tony's body. Tony becomes Tony again. And Mads Mikkelsen is our Caecilius from Doctor Strange universes is actually Victor Von Doom in another universe. I mean, I don't know. There's different ways they could do it, but there are possibilities there. There are definitely possibilities.
The movie will be called Tony, Tony, Tony.
That's good. Tony, Tony, Tony. All right. What's next?
All right.
That's good. I like that.
Let's see. Logan Vaughn is back and says, who will Doctor Doom kill first to establish how serious he is? Like Thanos killed Heimdall, Loki, and half of Asgard. I could see Doctor Doom killing someone like Happy Rhodes, Lang, or maybe all the Kangs. He has to do something dastardly fast, right?
Killing Happy doesn't really establish anything. A thug on the street could do that.
A heart attack could do that.
Yeah. Killing Lang doesn't establish, that's not the same as taking out Hulk. It would have to be, we talked about this a little while ago, it would have to be somebody significant. Somebody significant. And somebody high up on the power chain. From an emotional point of view, it could be Peter Parker. Imagine Peter Parker, like, seeing the face of his practical father figure coming to kill him and beating the shit out of him. I don't want to bleed, Mr. Stark. I'm not Mr. Stark. There's that. Pepper. Tony's daughter. Ooh.
Because she's not a little girl anymore. She'd be older.
Still.
She'd be a teenager.
I could hear the assholes across the country puckering up real quick at the thought of like, I love you 3000. Getting her intestines ripped out by a Dr. Doom.
Well, this isn't The Boys.
It
wouldn't be that graphic.
Yeah. But, ooh, you wanted to do a moment on screen that makes everybody in the theater gasp and cry? Have Victor Von Doom he's about to do something horrible, and this young girl gets in the way. I know part of my dad must be in you somewhere, if you even share anything of his. And I think that, and then he just kills her because she's an insignificant little net. You want to see movie theaters across the world of weeping, bawling, crying audience members? I'm not saying they should do it. Let me be clear. But that would be nutty. I mean, that would, everybody would cry and cry and cry. And they would hate Doom. They would hate him so much. You know what it would be like? It would be like John Wick. Okay, so this is a bratty Russian mob brat. Okay, he beats up some people. Okay, he busted up somebody's car. No. You want the audience to hate this guy so much that you want to see John Wick not just kill him, but kill hundreds of people that stand between him and that kid? Have that kid kill a puppy. And what was the result of that? When they killed that puppy, nuns from the cathedral,
you heard,
out
Guns
on their Wednesday afternoons, thought they'd check out the movie show. And nuns, Sister Mara Martha, and her friends, all like in their 70s. When that dude, what was his name in Game of Thrones again? Reek? Whatever?
Yeah, well.
When that dude killed that puppy, nuns stood up and said, that motherfucker gotta die. Believe me, that's what nuns did.
Yeah.
That's what everybody felt.
You heard a collective gun cock across the world.
Yep, you heard everybody. I don't care what John Wick needs to do. I don't care how many people he's got to kill. I don't care how violent and depraved he's got to get. That fucker got to die. You want that reaction from the audience? Have Doom kill Tony's daughter.
Yeah, Dana White says kill Rocket.
Or kill Rocket.
Not bad.
Oh, shit. That'll bring Tony. That'll bring Peter back into the fold pretty quick. And by Peter, I mean Peter Quill.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, what's next?
Anish Kabish says, happy to see Superman has wrapped filming, and we also got the teasiest of teasers for Creature Commandos. Seems like the DCU is actually going to be real. Any specific projects you guys are most excited for in the Gunverse? Superman. It I don't mean to overplay it, but everything depends on it. Everything depends on Superman. If they don't crush it with this movie, I think they're screwed. I really do. Because the DC universe already has such a bad reputation with the general going fans. And you're starting a brand new iteration of it. You got to come out strong. So here's hoping. I've got all the faith in the world in James Gunn. So here's hoping he's actually able to pull it off. All right, what's next? Your Name says, after watching the first Deadpool, I decided never to watch it with younger relatives. So never took them to Deadpool 2 or Deadpool and Wolverine. Any Marvel DC movie franchise you would rather watch alone than with the family?
Huh.
I don't know if there's any for any of those reasons. I like watching movies alone because I like to just kind of get lost in it. But I don't mind watching with my family.
I remember back, it's not DC or Marvel. I remember back when... damn it, what's the name of the sci-fi film again where they kill the space bugs?
Oh, Starship Troopers?
Starship Troopers. I remember back when Starship Troopers came out. Looked like a fun little sci-fi adventure. Took my pastor to go see it.
Should have taken him to John Wick.
Should have taken him to see John Wick. Because you know what John Wick didn't have? Titties. But I took my pastor. So it'll be fun. It's like this. They're fighting. They're against space monsters, fighting the big bugs, and then the titties and the fucky. And then I'm like in my seat going, I'm so uncomfortable right now. I'm so uncomfortable. Anyway, yeah, there was that. Again, not a Marvel or DC movie, but yeah. All right, what's next?
Alex Von Gollum says, hi, John. I think it would be great if you use a segment from this Friday to discuss theories/hopes about the season 2 finale of House of the Dragon, over under which characters and dragons die. The episode's going to be sick.
Here's the problem, Alex. I would, except there's already literature out there where there's a ton of people who already know, right? There's so many people out there. One of them is sitting in this room right now who already knows what happens, barring the show making massive different changes than what's in the written material. And so because of that, there's a lot of people out there that this isn't a mystery for. So because of that, I don't think, but for other shows like that, I could definitely do something like that, but I don't think I would do it for House of the Dragon, unfortunately.
So far, the histories have been accurate. What they do is they change some actions of a character, or they have a larger role than the history show to make them more enjoyable to watch on screen. But what I've noticed is the ultimate outcome is still sealed. Like, it still happens that way. So sometimes Ray will come in, he's like, oh man, this and this, or I hope this doesn't happen, or I can't wait for this to happen. And I'm like, that's nice.
do. All right, what's next?
Alex Von Gollum says, hi y'all. 2 outstanding performances of House of the Dragon Season 2 are Aemon's and Laris.
Yeah.
Aemon, especially in episode 6, showed he is a terrifying ruler. Larry is a non-smile, colder version of Littlefinger. So conniving. Both deliver their lines with power.
Yes. Sir Winston of Feet Hill. God, he loves the feet. Listen, I honestly can't think of a single performance in House of the Dragon that I don't think is stellar. Starting last year with Viserys, Otto, and as big of a douchebag as Sir Criston is, that actor plays the hell out of that role. He's so good. Hell, I even like this little kid who's now the Lord of the Riverlands, and he has to deal. I mean, he's great.
The new Lady Mormont.
He is the new Lady Mormont. Yeah. He's not quite as good as Lady Mormont was, but he's kind of like the new Lady Mormont. The performances have been absolutely phenomenal.
Littlefinger is more dangerous than this guy, though, because while this guy connives, Littlefinger was also taking actions to push things forward.
Yeah,
so
100%. All right, what's next?
He's so grimy, says, can everyone chill about RDJ? I don't think they can. John Krasinski played Mr. Fantastic in an alternate universe, but now Pedro is our main read. Just judge the content by the content, not the speculation. P.S. I love your rants when your alter ego, Johnny Giovanni, emerges.
Now you've done it. Now Johnny Giovanni's going to come out and set you straight. Look, I have been guilty of that. We're all guilty of this sometimes, and I'm not an exception. I've been guilty of this too, right? Where it's like, no, I don't want them to do it that way. I want them to do it this way. Yeah, I've done it too. We all do. The key is we got to catch ourselves doing it and then try to stop acting like that. Listen, I get it. Some people is like, oh, okay. Well, I was kind of hoping they'd go a more traditional route when they bring in Dr. Doom. But guys, if they write this really well, it's going to be awesome. But if they did it the old traditional way and didn't write it awesome, it was going to be terrible. It's all about how well do they write this character and what kind of a story do they do. But if they do a great story and write a great character, at the end of the day, it's not really going to matter if he was this or that to start out with. What's going to matter is how is he handled in the movie? How is he handled in the story and in the narrative? And whether or not he started off as this or as a variant of that person, wherever he started off is going to be inconsequential. Do they do well? Again, it's not what I would do, but they're not doing what I want them to do. They're doing something different. And I'm just acknowledging, well, shit, what they're doing has got some pretty damn good potential to it. And when has Feige working with McFeely, working with the Russo brothers ever disappointed us? When has it ever disappointed us? Answer, never. So let's give it the benefit of the doubt for now and see where it goes. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, John, the people of Latveria are tired of your slander. Doom is no villain. Doom is kindest, bravest, warmest, most wonderful human being I've ever known in my life. He will save the world and the ignorant masses from themselves at any means necessary.
One of the truly fascinating things about Victor Von Doom is he takes his responsibility of being both the ruler and protector of Latveria very fucking seriously. He's very serious about protecting his people. As evil and as bad. But did you know in the comic books there was actually a redemption arc where he tried to, like, people thought Tony Stark was dead. He took over the Iron Man armor, kind of mixed with his own armor, and tried to be Iron Man for a while. Anyway, for that aside, he may be evil. He may be hell bent on world destruction. He may, or world conquering and all that kind of stuff. But it's really funny because a lot of characters like that in fiction, they don't give a crap about their peasants, right? He takes his responsibility for protecting his people. He's deadly serious about it, as a matter of fact. All right, what's next?
Okay. Anonymous says, post Deadpool v Marvel and Comic-Con 24H or Hall H announcements, i.e. RDJ, do you think Marvel's plans are a bit scattered? Does it feel like James Gunn and DC have more straightforward path to the future? Has Marvel become too big for its own good?
No, I think it's just the fact that we don't see what their roadmap is. And like James Gunn, who I adore, has the advantage that he's got nothing right now. Like there's nothing but Superman. Yeah, they're going to do a Batman movie with a Robin. They're going to do a Supergirl movie. Yeah, but right now there's nothing out there. So we can't even have the perception of it being interconnected, of it being disjointed, of it being anything like that. Marvel is at a different place. Marvel has had far more success. So Marvel is in a place right now when they announce certain things, like all of us right now with Robert Downey Jr. playing Victor Von Doom. How the hell is he Victor Von Doom? Well, we don't know. But just because we don't know doesn't mean they don't know and that they don't have a great plan. So I think perception is one thing, but that's because James Gunn hasn't got anything good or bad out there right now with this new DC universe. Whereas Marvel, we're looking at 1,000 interconnecting pieces. So you got to keep that in consideration. All right, what's next?
Vocal Athlete says, you got to House of the Dragon episode 7 before the rest of us on Friday. The rest of us got to see a Canadian queen standing on an Iron Throne and singing as if it were her last performance. I'm not the biggest fan of her music, but that was mesmerizing. Bravo, Queen Celine.
Here's the thing. And I've seen these videos. I'm sure many of you have too. When the greatest singers in the world are asked, who's the greatest singer in the world? The greatest singers in the world say Celine Dion. Damn it. I'm getting emotional. If you know anything about what Celine Dion has been going through, if you've seen any of the footage from the documentary on her with her neurological condition, a lot of you guys I know saw that footage that they put out of her literally having seizures and how horrifying and heartbreaking it is. Where there are days she can't walk, she can't do, and she could barely speak. But she's vowing, I will sing again. And how great is the Olympics for stuff like this? So what does she do? She gets on the ultimate Iron Throne, the Eiffel Tower. And she sings a song that I have, even though I took 8 years of French, I still don't really know. I know maybe 5 words that she sang in the song, so I don't really know what the song is about. And if you haven't seen this, guys, go look it up on YouTube. If it doesn't at least, if not break you down into tears, at least make your eyes water up a bit, your heart's missing. I got completely emotional seeing that. I'm actually feel like I've got to fight back. I got to choke it back right now just thinking about it. This woman who has been through all the things, the loss, the pain, the suffering, the health conditions, the issues, all that kind of stuff. And then to get up for her first performance in 4 years. Her first performance in 4 years. To stand up in front of the world and fucking sing like she sang. Holy shit. It was so freaking powerful. And it's like that's the spirit of the Olympics right there, man. And it's one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a long time. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. It's really watch the NBC coverage of it too. If you go into YouTube, look up the NBC coverage, because Kelly Clarkson is there doing the commentating with their main sports guy, and like, well, what did you think of Celine's performance? And like Kelly Clarkson is, just give me a minute, like she's bawling her eyes out and everything. If you haven't seen it, guys, go watch it. It's good for the soul. It's good for the soul. Anyway, all right. What's next?
HW says, what are your thoughts on the TV show version of Friday Night Lights? Started watching it this week, and it has a great cast in it.
Has a terrific cast. Never saw a single episode, which sucks because Rob has tried for years to get me to watch it. And I love the movie, and it's got a great cast of shows, but honestly, I've never seen a single episode of it. But I've always heard nothing but great things. Rob loves the show. I've heard nothing but good things about it, but I've never seen it myself. All right, what's next?
Nerdy Superman says, hi, John. Not sure if everyone in Goodyear, Arizona, I'm guessing it's Goodyear, Arizona, I don't know, saw your video when I asked everyone to be kind to theater workers, but we had a very peaceful weekend with Deadpool and Wolverine, and everyone did their part. Thank you to all the moviegoers for your part. We appreciate it.
You know what? I mentioned that I was at the very first screening of Deadpool and Wolverine, and the theater was packed with all the other people who were going to the very first screening of Deadpool and Wolverine. And we all thought that we were going to get the popcorn buckets because it's the first screening. Only to find out that 250 people lined up at 9:30 in the morning and they sold out of all the popcorn buckets. I saw a number of people walking up to the concession counter saying, so are you out? Do you not have the popcorn buckets? We're so sorry, we're out. I thought for sure I was going to see somebody go, this is bullshit. I want to talk to your manager or something like that, right? Not once. Everybody was totally behaved. Everybody was like, I'm disappointed, but like, all right. You know, like everybody handled it like champs, got their sweets and their soft drinks, whatever, went and watched the movie, had a good time. I was very impressed with the audiences I saw it with.
It's almost like they were acting like adults.
Go figure, because that could have gone south real fast, but they did it well. All right, what's next?
Jason says, hey, John, is it just me or is there something special about the simplicity of the first MCU movies like Cap 1, Iron Man 1, Thor 1? The universe is small, less convoluted. In a way, I am hoping they do a bit of soft reboot in Secret Wars.
Here's the thing. They don't have to. You know what? I've been saying this for a long time. Make movies that are a little bit more standalone. It's one of the reasons why I love the fact that they did a Joker movie. Because the Joker movie doesn't come with all the baggage of a convoluted 17 movies already out there. They got to make sure they don't contradict and blah, 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 blah. And you creatively handcuff your filmmakers. Make some what-if movies. Make some standalone movies. I like those types of stories. And you know what? They are going to try this, and I think it's worth trying. With frankly, the number of times they've dropped the ball on their Disney Plus shows. They've had a couple of great ones, but also several big misses. But they've said that their Disney Plus shows are now going to be more standalone. Still taking place in the MCU, but they're really going to be standalone shows. And I think that's a good thing to do because we need both. We need the big interconnected stories, yes, but we also need some really just good singular stories as well to make it all worth it. So hopefully that'll work for them. All right, what's next?
Jesse says, hey, John, very big fan from South Africa, favorite movie pundit. Thanks for all you do. Wanted to know your thoughts and how you're feeling about M. Night's new movie, Trap. Saw the preview before Deadpool and Wolverine. Looked wicked. Oh, and how's Paris? She's not in today.
Yeah, she's just not in today. She's fine. She's just not in today. Unless you mean where the Olympics are being held.
Paris is wonderful.
Paris is wonderful. Damn it. I started talking about how Paris is doing. I forgot what the main question was. What was the? Trap.
Trap, yeah.
Listen, they showed us a preview. They showed us a little bit of a presentation for Trap at CinemaCon back in April. And I was like, damn, this looks good. I still feel that way. I think this looks great. Now, will it be great? I don't know.
Right.
Will it be M. Night's next Split? Or will it be M. Night's next Lady in the Water?
We'll hope not.
I don't know. But I think it looks really good. I'm seeing it tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and I can't wait.
Speaking of Split, and speaking of previews before Deadpool and Wolverine, Speak No Evil looks incredible.
Oh,
with James McAvoy.
with James McAvoy.
Oh.
They showed us a presentation for that as well, and like James McAvoy came out on stage, and it's like, okay, I don't know how good the movie will be.
I know, but that trailer.
But McAvoy is angling himself for an Oscar nomination because he looks like he might give the performance of his career in this movie. It looks freaky, man. All right, what's next?
Mr. I says, in regards to your Doctor Doom scenario, instead of Captain Marvel, Doom fights Hulk and his son, he kills Scar. Grieving Hulk goes savage. Now the Avengers are busy with a crazed Hulk. While Doom continues his plans, Doom is strong and smart.
Dude, listen, Mr. I am all for anything that gets us the real Hulk back.
That could work, honestly. I don't think he could be. I mean, it could be anything. I don't know why I keep going to the 4 shot. It could be anything, obviously. But dude, that would be something that would solve 2 issues.
Bowl cut Hulk son. Yeah, just kill that kid. Just kill him. Just make him good for something. Kill him, and that makes Bruce go crazy, and he loses the connection between his Banner and his Hulk brain, and they become separated again, and give us Savage Hulk. Anything that gives us Savage Hulking, and I'm all for. And that, who knows, maybe someday could lead to a World War Hulk. I would love it. All right, what's next?
Monkey Tongue says, I understand you don't think there's going to be another Deadpool movie, but you have to be out of your mind that you're not going to try everything in your power to make another one with how successful this movie is after all the money talks. I'm sure they'll try.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right. I guarantee you Kevin Feige will want to make another one. Bob Iger will want to make another one. But I've said this before, and I stand by this. Ultimately, the person who's going to make the decision if they make a Deadpool 4 is not Bob Iger. It's not Kevin Feige. It's not Sean Levy. It's not even Ryan Reynolds. It's Blake Lively. Blake Lively will ultimately be the one to decide if Ryan can take another 3 years, an all-encompassing 3 years. When I think they're up to 4 kids now, with 4 children at a young age, to do that. I mean, like I pointed out, Ryan made this comment on an interview he was doing. They said, so like getting ready for Deadpool 4 anytime soon? And he's like, hell no. Said that I'm done. He goes, if I do another Deadpool, my wife's going to divorce me and my kids are going to divorce me. So if a Deadpool 4 is ever to get made, Bob Iger better break out the credit card and be sending daily gifts to Blake Lively at their places, either in Vancouver or New York, and just make sure the flowers are on a steady stream, because I think ultimately it's going to be her decision if they're going to let Ryan do it or not.
I think there has to be a period too, because much to that point, he owns Wrexham. He owns a stadium.
He's got tons
an
of other
entrepreneur.
things.
He's got so many other things. So it's not just that Deadpool takes so much that it would endanger their family. It's that he's got to do that on top of everything else he's doing. I can't even imagine
all these other
how
businesses
he's doing.
And
So-
like somebody just mentioned in the live chat, like, doesn't Blake also have a movie coming out? Yeah, because Blake is a hell of an actress in her own right. She's great. But they have a rule. Blake and Ryan have a rule. Only one of them can be shooting a movie at a time. I think that's a great rule.
That's not to say he can't appear as Deadpool. We're talking about a vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
The whole,
He will appear as Deadpool.
Yeah.
I have no doubt. But I don't think there's going to be a Deadpool 4 unless Blake Lively changes her mind. I think ultimately she's going to be the one that makes the decision.
Which is why they recast a Justin Long.
Because go figure, Ryan Reynolds puts his family first.
Come on.
Go figure.
Canadians aren't that nice, John.
All right, what's next?
Brian O'Connor says, John, save your breath. Some concepts are too big for everyone to understand. Personally, I'm looking forward to RDJ as Doom and all the drama that it will bring. Oh, and all the drama that it will bring to 616. I hope the final film lives up to the concept.
Listen,
we all do.
Even somebody like me, who this isn't what I would do, but I fully support their decision. I think this is a really bold, big swing they're taking, and I'm all for it. But even I acknowledge this could go very bad. This could go very bad. It could end up being terrible. But remember that if they did it the other way, the way other people want them to do it, it could also be very bad, and it could also go very terrible. So it's all going to come down to this. Winning cures everything. If the movie's great, Jonathan, I said this on my show last night. If the movie ends up great, and I bet it will. I don't know that it will, but I bet it will.
Mm-hmm.
When Doomsday comes out and it's awesome, you're going to see all these people rewriting history. It's going to be just like the Heath Ledger thing. Everybody was against the Heath Ledger casting as Joker. And then when the movie came out and it was awesome and he was awesome in it, all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, no, I always knew Heath Ledger would be a great Joker. Oh, yes,
perfect.
I always knew that. Same thing with freaking Twilight Boy playing Batman.
Boy.
Is it what the guy from Twilight?
Tell me you've never seen The Rover.
And then the movie came out, and all I hear everywhere is people, oh, yeah, of course. We all knew Robert Pattinson was going to be a great Batman. Oh, yeah, we all knew. When Doomsday comes out, dude, I'm just telling you right now, if it ends up being as good as I think it will, and it might not, but if it does, you're going to see a lot of people rewriting history going, oh, yeah, well, obviously we all knew Robert Downey Jr. would kill it as Victor Von Doom. Yeah, we all knew that, right? Yeah. No, there's going to be so much history rewriting when that happens. And guess what? If it ends up being terrible, I'll say I thought they should have done it the other way too, but I really thought it was worth them giving it a shot. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. What's next?
All right. Our members are next. Bosconian says, not a question, but 85-year-old Christopher Lloyd confirmed via Deadline is coming back for Nobody 2. Great Scott! That's heavy, Doc.
That was a good Doc Brown, by the way.
Thanks.
I love Nobody. I think that movie's so great. I'm so excited they're coming back, and it's really good to hear that Christopher Lloyd's coming back too. All right, what's next?
King Daddy Goat says, hey, John, hope all is great today. I was watching The Bear Season 2, Episode 10, titled The Bear, last night. It's so iconic. Sydney's dad says, this is the thing. Next scene is literally Evan Moss Backrack smoking a cigarette. Kind of funny Easter egg in hindsight. Anyway, thanks for all you do, and please bring on the filthy.
I'm not convinced that he had the role when they shot the show. Because I think they probably shot that like 9 months ago. I don't know. Maybe he had the role already.
Maybe
he already had the role when he said this is the thing. So you mean like not purposefully ironic that it happened? If that's the case, that would be. By the way, I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be great in this movie. I really do. All right, what's next?
Chip Crisper says, hey, John, I just want to say thanks for everything you do with the show. With all this Doom talk with RDJ, just makes me happy, positive or negative. Everybody is talking about Marvel with such passion right now. I only see upside and pure fun for this Doom decision, which is all thumbs up for me.
You know, I put out, by the way, in case you guys didn't know, check our community tab. We've relaunched the newsletter, and we're going to see how it goes, see if you guys are responding to it. But we put out the newsletter. And yesterday I talked about all of a sudden, Disney's dominant again. It's crazy how fast winning changes the narrative. Just a month, 2 months ago, the narrative was Disney's dead and blah, blah. Even though they've had some really big wins, they've also had some high profile losses. Absolutely. But that was the narrative. All of a sudden, Inside Out 2 comes out and is the #1 box office film of the year. Deadpool comes out. And everybody's loving Deadpool, and it's smashing box office records. It's the #1 and #2 movies of the year. And just like that, the narrative surrounding Disney has completely changed. They're dominant again. Then they follow that up with a little Hall H thing. And whatever side you're on with this Robert Downey Jr. thing, everybody's talking about it. And Disney is once again at the center of the conversation. And let's see what they do with their, completely useless D23 conference that they have coming up that nobody should go to.
Dude, it's going to be bomb after bomb.
Oh, nobody should go to that garbage thing. Anyway, we'll see what they do and how they follow up with their pathetic, useless, absolute nonsense, trash heap, garbage, shit-infested big bag of nothing D23. We'll see if they're able to follow up a little bit more and keep that momentum going, but we will see. All right, what's next?
CJ Rebirth is next. I'm actually a fan of Julian McMahon's Dr. Doom. As someone who didn't read the F4 comics growing up, looking back now, I agree he wasn't written well, but I thought it was cool seeing him get his metal electric powers and stuff.
Julian McMahon could have been a great Victor if they wrote it right. I like, seriously, he's a terrific performer. It could have been something pretty special, but unfortunately, as you pointed out, they wrote it the way they wrote it. So there's that. All right, what's next?
David says, instead of Iron Man's robot army, the Iron Legion, I can totally see Doom using his same technology instead of making them Doombots in Avengers Doomsday.
Oh yeah, Doombots are like a huge thing, of course, in Marvel. So
He did say like same, what was it? What was the quote? Like same something,
new
different
mask, same task.
Same task.
Which I believe is referring to building a suit of armor around the world, only for very different motivations.
Yeah.
By the way, I just got to call out one of our live viewers, Dominic Suma, in the live chat, just said, John, you're not being clear. Should I go to D23 or not?
Yeah. Well, he is kind of vague. He's vague.
I'm beating around the bush a little bit. I might be beating around the bush a little bit. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Okay. Logan Vaughn says, did you ever see American Outlaws with Colin Farrell? I grew up loving this movie and think it's pretty fun. American Outlaws. It sounds so familiar.
I was just thinking of American Gangster for a second. I don't remember American Outlaws off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
From 2001.
So it's a 23-year-old movie.
Yeah, and it's with, let's see, it's with Colin Farrell, Scott Conn, Ali Larder. Gosh, I mean,
wow,
it sounds so
It's got some pretty
familiar,
interesting names in there.
I don't think I ever saw it.
I don't remember. I'll have to look it up on, Dr. Stinky's saying it has a 13 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Nice.
Oh, there's that. Maybe I won't go see it. All right. Let's take two more. What's next?
I can't tell if it's a VI or whatever, VI Cog, I think, or VICOG. Went to SDCC for the first time this year. Overall, had a fantastic time. Camped out overnight for Marvel, so I can cross that off my bucket list. Will you ever moderate a panel again?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I might go and do my own panel sometime again. I know Comic-Con, they communicate with me every year about that. But I'll never do I've moderated some of the panels in Hall H before and stuff like that, but I don't do anything like, that's why I was talking about Coup. Like, I don't do interviews. I don't do studio stuff anymore. I don't work with the studios in any way, shape, or form anymore. Like, I turned that thing off a couple of years ago. So for that, so maybe I might do a Masters of the Web panel again sometime. Maybe I'll do that at Comic-Con sometime, but I won't be moderating other panels anymore. No. All right, what's next?
Okay, Joe Howland says, hey, John, how are you today? Well, I wanted to ask you, do you think that this new Alien Romulus movie could beat the previous Alien movies in either opening weekend or full box office run?
Since I don't know off the top of my head what the opening weekends or box office runs for the other movies are, I have no idea. I don't think Alien Romulus is going to be huge. I think it's going to be awesome, though. I can't wait to see this movie. But, and I haven't seen what the box office projections for it are.
Prometheus did 51 million. What was the one after Prometheus? I didn't see it.
Oh, I saw it. What was it called? Guys in the live chat, what was the follow-up one called again? It was called Covenant.
Covenant. Okay, so Covenant, because I've got IMDb here.
I don't think Covenant made as much.
Alien Covenant, 36.
36. And I don't know what the projection is on Alien Romulus. I don't expect it's going to be very big, but hopefully the movie's as good as it looks, and then word of mouth will get out there, and then we'll see. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank Jonathan Voico for being here with me.
Hello, everybody, and goodbye.
And thank you to all of you for making this show part of your day. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.